Hello and welcome to this week's Indo GAA hurling pod. Delighted to be joined by John and Pat as always, and we were just bemoaning the fact that there was so little hurling on television at the weekend, John. Outside of Cork and Kilkenny, we're really getting manna from heaven though this weekend. I think there's 5 games across terrestrial television this weekend. It should surely be this way every weekend.
Yeah, the dream weekend, and I'm looking outside. The sun is shining down here, so I'm obsessed with cutting grass. I have a thing about long grass, so I plan on doing it. I'm off today, so I plan on cutting a bit of grass today. And as you rightly said, we are in for a bumper weekend. You know, with so many games to look forward to, some cracking games coming up, and so many important games, and we'll delve into it. But you know, we're going off the last weekend. You know, the one game that was on, having to be on the box was Cork and Kilkenny.
Hey,
and,
we'll come to that in 1 second. Classic corner forward always wants the grass nice and tight. if that was me now, I'd be saying, "Jeez, lads, cut the rest of the field as you like. Leave that number 4 spot, loads of grass, make it nice and awkward for the forward, make it nice and messy." I'm not surprised that you're obsessed with grass, man. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and Cheltenham is around the corner as well. You're flying over to Cheltenham again next week, so the going is probably good to soft. I think it'll probably
good to soft to be the ideal going. That's my type of going now. Either soft or soft to heavy in places.
Yeah. No, I'm top of the ground all day long, and I'm sure Pat is the same. Hiya, Pat.
Very same, John. Tell him you bought a new pair of runners and all today, John. You're thinking of making a comeback with the sun shining. Right.
Well, no, look, bought a nice pair of, Asics gel runners. You can't go past the Asics. Tell you, when you get to my age now, Pat, I'm on 45 now, and I suppose I'd say within the next 10 years I'll be riddled with arthritis, and that's been straight up at you. But I invested in a nice pair of Asics runners now. So
John, I seen a thing last week online. Do you know they were talking about bringing back the minor finals to Croke Park, and then some people are for and some people are against it, and some people are saying we need more value for money with the tickets. And I seen one suggestion on Twitter there that people were saying there should be the Masters games should come back. And beyond before and have all the legends playing. Would you partake in the Masters? Would you? But what?
And believe it or not, I don't think Waterford have put it in the team. At football level, but at hurling level, we haven't put in the team.
You'd have a fair team.
Yeah, we wouldn't be bad. I suppose. Yeah, I suppose that team from the Nordies, I suppose you'd have a good few of them. I suppose Tony Brown, I see him at Christmas time. He's still in incredible condition.
He could be fitter than he was when he was playing, Mull. There's not a pick on him.
Well, look, to be fair to him, I mean, you're on about, players looking after themselves. You're on about Ronaldo, Ronaldo, the way he looks after himself. Brown was the exact same. What did he play? He played inter-county up to his...
Yeah, 40s,
No, 40, 41 or 42 years of age.
John, I had heard a rumor before that. Again, you don't know if these things are true. I remember when Tony was the longevity, and people used to say that he used to cycle to some of the Waterford train stations, cycle home after during the summer. Again, no idea if that's true, but this is the stuff we used to hear back in the day about Tony Brown when he was still playing that long.
No, well, look, he was a smart trainer now. He was a smart trainer, and in regards looking after, not putting too much of a load on himself. What he used to do, he used to tell me back in the day, was that, when he probably reached 39, 40, 41, rather than training heavy Tuesday night, heavy Friday night, what he used to do is he would train twice on the Tuesday, or twice on the Tuesday, so he wouldn't have to go as heavy on the Thursday. So what he would actually do is he'd go off and do his own running in Tuesday morning, and then come in Tuesday night and train with the team. And then in regards to recovery, then he'd have longer to recover. So he wouldn't train. I don't think he would train as hard on a Thursday then. And then
that's mental though. Even like the fact that he would be at that age, that you'd be able to train twice in a day, that you'd be able to do the full collective and your own. And what you're talking about there now, he was doing like fair running now. I remember reading articles and even chatting to him about it. Like he wasn't going in doing a recovery session. He was going in doing a proper session.
Yeah. Like if Tony trained, he'd be full on. So as you're 100% right, he would train hard on the Tuesday morning, and then go in and train collectively with the group on a Tuesday night, and the group would be going hard on a Tuesday night, and then he would tailor off. Then he wouldn't probably train as hard on the Thursday, and then that would give him more time to get a bit more recovery in. So instead of as you're younger, you'd recover quicker within the space of a day or two, but as you get older, I suppose the science behind it, it would take longer to recover, and that was his way, and it worked. It worked for him. You should actually get him on. I was actually saying to him, Christmas time, would he come on? Because look, I had a great time for him there. I always found him, real trustworthy lad. There was often times in the past, where you could tell him things, and it would just be between myself and himself. And as I said here last year, he's been extremely unlucky in regards the coaching end of it. The year that he stepped away from Tipperary, they go on to win the All-Ireland. And look, from I can only imagine, what he invested into the 2 previous years. He actually told me that he knew Tipperary were going to win the All-Ireland last year.
He texted me before the semi-final, and he was convinced they were going to win. He was convinced they were going to beat Kilkenny firstly anyway. And then he thought, he'd full belief, yeah.
Yeah, full belief. Yeah. He told me that. He said, I knew. He said that they were building nicely. He said about Liam that he kind of had to, strip back to go and build again. And but to get him over the line. But he was extremely unlucky with Waterford under 21s as well. And then I suppose the first year that he went in with Waterford, it was Liam's last year. So and actually, believe it or not, I actually think he went for the Waterford job. He wanted to take on he actually told me, he said he wanted to take on the Waterford job. Carry on from what Liam, I think Liam had a year or two left in his contract, but obviously Tipperary came calling then, and I think Tony then wanted to take on the job, and he didn't end up getting it, and they kind of went for Davy instead, which is a bit probably disappointing,
he will get it eventually. He'll get it over the coming years.
I would imagine, but the next step is he's probably done the selector role now, done the coaching role, and I think the next step for him now is go down the manager role, But look, great guy, absolutely great guy, but what a supreme athlete, man, the amount of stuff that I learned off of him over the years is just incredible,
Yeah.
So the band is getting back together. The Master team is coming.
Yeah.
Should be worth it for the crack, wouldn't it, alone?
Well, I suppose, look, it's finding time, Michael, as you well know. I suppose, look, from myself, I'm 4 kids, and Pat is going to come into that world now of having kids. So you see it yourself, Michael. You're constantly on the road, dropping here, dropping there. And even I suppose you're trying to give a bit of time back to the club then as well, but you're just constantly on the road. And I suppose for any parent, and I would say to any parent, your kids are only young for that time period between 6 and say 15. That's when your kids really need you, and you don't. I just when they're at that age, I think you have to be there for them as much as possible, and build up as many memories as you can, because when they hit that age of 15, 16, they're kind of gone, and you can't get those years back. And you see so many parents who look back and have regrets that they probably weren't there for their kids as much during those years. So, they probably invested in so much in work and and that, like, but yeah, no, I'd be the polar opposite. I'd kind of trying to, be there for him as much as I can.
I can see a little spin-off parenting pod with John Mullane at some stage down the line.
Yeah, how do we actually even get to this? Like, Tony Brown.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Just to go back to the action at the weekend, lads. We'd start with Cork and Kilkenny because it was obviously the only kind of show in town as regards everyone having eyeballs on it. Mad old type of a game, Pat. Cork had a lot of new faces in. I'd say a good few of them fairly put their hand up and took their chances. What did you think of this? It was a real kind of a throwback, wasn't it? I don't know, conditions obviously played into it as well, but somehow Kilkenny managed to bring it down the stretch even, and fair play to them for doing that, because Cork probably could have been out of sight at different stages. Lots of new kind of Cork faces throwing their hands up for selection as well.
My father's after coming in there on the pod once,
Yeah.
Well, good. Good boss. How are you keeping?
Well, how are you?
Couldn't be better. I'm going swimming. He's going to cut it on.
Come on.
That's brilliant, lads.
Hey,
I don't know if that's going to be kept in there or not.
Don't cut that out, lads. Don't cut that out, whatever you do.
Jeez.
The year the All-Ireland final in 2018. Never told you this, but I was doing a gig.
I know about this, I think. Yeah, go on.
I was doing a gig the night before. The All-Ireland in 2018, Limerick and Galway. I never told you this, but your sister and brother were at the gig, and lovely people. But I'll tell you, they were immensely proud of you, and I suppose it's those kind of, moments even the night before a game, like, and I just got talking to your sister and brother, and what it really kind of meant to them, and the family and the club to have yourself representing the family and doing, and on the big stage, and I just thought it was lovely. I just thought I'd tell you that. Like,
I woke up, John. It's funny when first time you get into a final and being involved in a final, like. And it was the same with all the lads on the Limerick team that day. We found it was funny. We were the only ones at home. Brothers, sisters, partners, parents. Everybody went to Dublin the night before. And it felt like we were missing out on this big party almost. You know what I mean? And I woke up the following morning to a Snapchat from my brother and sister, and it was you and them having a few drinks together. And my father was just there. Billy, you were giving him a shout out, and you were saying best of luck to me tomorrow, and you were winning on it, and you were having plenty of crack. So yeah, it's funny the way, we always travel up the morning of the game with Limerick, and it was like that. All your friends from school, from college, everywhere, you see them all, and on social media, they were all up there on the Saturday night, and it's just funny. It feels like you're late to the party, but you have to try and obviously keep the head right, and you know yourself, you're going to have your own party the following night. But yeah, great memories. I remember that. I remember you meeting them. They told me they still talk about it to this day, to be honest.
Yeah, but it really touched me now. What it really meant to them. Like, I suppose, like, for any family, or brothers or sisters or mothers or fathers, like, you probably that other side to it, where their son or their brother are getting ready for an All-Ireland final, and the emotion that they're showing. And what it means to them, but I can safely say, Jesus, they were so proud of you.
Yeah. We're not going to get any talking done about games this week.
Just on that. See, this is the thing, John. You've never seen what your family were like watching you playing. Do you know what I mean? That's something you've never seen. Pat, you've never kind of seen that as well. Like, I know my aunt, even my cousin, played a good bit of football, even with Offaly, even at lower levels, and she'd be pacing around the garden. She wouldn't smoke normally, but she'd be pacing around the garden smoking. Like, you don't know just what it means to people, and it means a hell of a lot. County finals are huge, particularly locally. And then you go next step, and lads are playing in further county and representing Limerick. And I remember even going in with Offaly. We were playing Dublin in 11 in Croke Park, and we were driving in, and you see all the boys, like, from home at the Big Tree or at Quinn's or whatever it was when it was there. I think it's, you know what I mean? It's, you kind of think you're missing out in a way, but they're all there to see you, if that makes sense as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's a mad one, really.
Yeah,
sure is.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, boys, we will eventually get stuck into the action, and I will throw back to you, Pat.
Yeah.
Cork and Kilkenny. What were your main takeaways from the game in Nolan Park on Sunday?
My main takeaways, Mick, to be honest, were after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 35, 40 minutes. And it was just what a hardy game is what I thought. Hard hits. You know, you'd see sometimes people now talking about the game, about tackling, like where is tackling defined? You watch games like that and it's just, it feels like you can just hit. It feels like you're allowed to hit anybody with your body. Once you don't hit him with the hurley, you know what I mean? You can just hit anyone with your body.
Hey, there's a common denominator there, and it's Mull's County man, Thomas Tyler Walsh.
It could be, yeah. No, he done. And look, people look at their entertaining games this time of the year. That's kind of not all that you're going to get, but you know the underfoot conditions were very hard the other day. It was the rain was coming down heavy in Kilkenny. You know, a good win for Cork. You know, a very good win for Cork. In fairness, even was it? I'm getting the two watches mixed up. Was it Barry came on or Allen came on and got the goal?
Allen
came on and got the goal. A great goal.
Yeah.
Like there was 68 minutes gone and only 2 points in it. And we seen the week before in Waterford when the point up on 70 minutes against Kilkenny, and Kilkenny still won it. So if Alan Walsh didn't get that goal, you know, you'd nearly have to hand it Kilkenny, and you wouldn't doubt him that they would have maybe got a draw out of it at least. So it was a huge goal, an absolute huge goal. They created maybe 6 other goal chances, which is a great sign of a team. I know sometimes just listen to the commentary after Donlogue, you know, he was kind of lamenting the fact that they didn't take him. But sure, look, if you don't take him in March, what about it? You're creating them. They seem to be constantly creating 5-6 goal chances a game, which is so dangerous because they only need to take 2 or 3 to probably win most games on average. And another point about Cork and what they've kind of changed the game a small bit in terms of how they play compared to others. Two of their goals came from long deliveries outside the 65. You had Darrell Fitzgibbons into Alan Connolly, the pop pass to Brian Hayes. Then you had Alan Walsh's goal from the long range free, and you had the penalty that was won as well from Barry Walsh, so which came in from a long ball as well. So they're showing that they can mix it up anyway. They're showing that they're willing to give these high long balls in. And of course, fellas coming onto the Cork team, then they're really putting up their hand. You know, apart from the forwards that maybe took the limelight and got the goals, like the 2 newcomers, I thought the Cork full backline were just outstanding. I think in fairness to Niall O'Leary and Sean O'Donoghue, they're their years. In fairness to them two lads, they seem to get better every year. They don't seem to let up. I'd imagine they give the vibe that they train exceptionally hard because they just seem to get a little bit better every single year, regardless of the way results have gone the last 2 years. Their graph seems to be on the way up. And obviously the fullback, I was praising the fullback O'Leary the last couple of weeks here. Again, like we said last week, John, about fellas keeping their jerseys. I can't see a world where he hasn't kept his jersey for the next week on now again, and until things change. But a lot of positives for Kilkenny too, in terms of that. You know, they were right in it to the death bar before that goal, but Cork would be absolutely delighted with that win. You know, a tough away day, a real tough away day, and they start the Munster Championship with a tough away day. They have another tough away day coming this week, so no wonder they're kind of giving up the rest. You know, no wonder Alan Connolly is telling us that it's all over, that they're going to win everything now, and you know they're full of confidence.
What do you make of that, actually, John? Connolly's kind of words after.
What did he say after?
Said they were going to try and win the next league game, win the league, win Munster, and win the All-Ireland.
They said we are going to win.
We are going to win.
Going to win.
We are, right. Well, that tells you that they're working away in the background with, you know, someone is probably in the same line as Caroline Kerr.
Jerry Hussey they have in actually this year.
Jerry Hussey, right. But I'd say...
I think I'd be keeping it private now. I think I'd be keeping that to myself now. I'd say that among the group.
Yeah, well, hey, why not?
No, in fairness, though, I will say.
Look at Big Ange Postecoglou with Tottenham. He said, I always win things in my second year.
Well, it didn't end too well after that.
Well, he still went and achieved it. Still won a European trophy. Like, so, you know, fair play to him. If he believes we're going to win everything, we're going to win, win the league, win the Munster. I mean, if you start talking about it, and the more you start believing it, I think the more it'll happen. But I think going back to Cork, I think Ben O'Connor would be. You could even see after the match, he was absolutely delighted because all the boxes he would have want ticked the weekend were ticked. Rain. I'd say he woke up the weekend. He's saying rain all week. Rain for the match, going up to Nolan Park. You couldn't probably pick a more difficult venue to go up and try and register a win. You know, their track record up in Nolan Park wasn't great.
I don't think he'd ever won there as a player, John. They said
never
before
won.
2019.
Never won.
So that'll tell you how hard it is. Yeah. So why he was so delighted.
I'd say when he's seen Tyler down as the referee, I'd say he was saying, yes, brilliant.
I'd say he was doing the Brian Cody.
Lads, it's funny. And I actually thought Tyler was very good. Now, there was one or two occasions I was up there doing the commentary in the match. There's probably Kilkenny supporters were getting, a bit riled up, and likewise Cork supporters. But bar one or two, I think the one near the end, Brian Hayes, and I think he was probably, his vision was impacted by a couple of players. I thought bar one or two, I thought he ended to the match, and look, I think it's just an honour now. I think, Kilkenny, whoever's going to the matches now just have to accept that he's going to let the game flow. It was actually funny. I was actually down presenting medals at a function there Saturday night down the Park Hotel, St. Oliver's. And chap was telling me that there was an under-7 blitz Saturday. And Tyler ended up doing the refereeing for the under-7 blitz. I actually met Tyler before the match. He actually ended up doing the under-7 blitz before the match. And the chap was telling me that he didn't even blow the whistle once in the under-7 blitz. And there was under-7 coaches getting on to him. Will you ever blow the whistle? He just left the flow. But just that's his style, lads. And I think he'll referee in All Ireland this year. If not this year, definitely in 12 months' time. But from a Cork point of view, what was very, very interesting, the previous occasions that they played, they went with two up top, and they had young William Buckley coming out in that Peter Casey role. But they reverted back to 3 inside the weekend. So that tells me that they're, it's horses for courses. Some days they'll go with the 2 inside. Other days they'll revert back to, where they got a bit of joy last year with 3 inside. After 27 minutes, they had only their first point on the board after 27 minutes from play. And that was from Tommy O'Connell. And they got 3 scores after that. As Pat alluded to there, Niall O'Leary's brilliant. Sean O'Donoghu's brilliant. Darrell O'Leary's doing absolutely nothing wrong from full back. Kilkenny were getting a foothold in the middle third. And a lot of that was largely down to Cian Kenny coming out from number 11. And Kieran Joyce didn't follow. And then as soon as the instruction came, Kieran Joyce effectively went into the Kilkenny half, followed Cian Kenny, and they started to take over. And you look at their panel right now. We spoke about the Limerick panel last week, but look at their panel: Owen Roach, Damien Callahan, Jaron Mellerick, Micheál Mullins, Ethan Toomey, Shane Kingston, Ben Cunningham, Robbie O'Flynn. Alan Welch came on and got an unbelievable goal. He really showed up well in the Munster League, has that aerial presence about him, and went up to the skies, took a ball out of the air and stuck the ball in the back of the net.
The timing of it, Mull. The timing of it was just, if you want to show anyone how you try to time the leap and arrive, it was just beautiful. It was like Big Dan. He caught it and he was gone. There was no catching him.
And they have that in their armour now, where they can go short or they can go long. They can go long into Brian Hayes, they can go long into Connolly. Brian Hayes, caused consternation in that. Then you have Pádraig Power. It's great to see Pádraig Power back on the bench. His father went out of his way to text me last year for mentioning him in the build up to the All Ireland final. Great to see him back on the bench. And then you're that's before we even get the 5 or 6 lads that were injured. I mean, I was here on Friday. I was getting texting, Cork have no interest in this game Friday. Look at the team they've picked. Look at the team they picked. And I'm looking at it on paper and I'm saying, Jesus, that's still a very strong 15. This Hugh O'Connor lad, all right, probably being a bit unlucky to date, but I can tell you this lad is going to come alive when the hard ground comes in. When the summer weather, when the top of the ground weather kicks in, this Hugh O'Connor is going to have a big say.
Just a quick one, when you were talking about Cheltenham and the going, I think there's something they should do at GAA grounds now. We should have a stick, And people should know before they go whether it's good to firm, good to soft, whatever. Just you can actually pick your team around it then, but that's a brief aside. Go on.
And then even Barry Welsh. Nobody even knew of Barry Welsh. I thought he had a right battle with Evan Bolger. Or was it Ivan
Bolger, yeah.
Ivan Bolger. We mentioned him before. I did know that I think this Ivan Bolger is going to could break into the Kilkenny team. I think he had a serious battle with Barry Welsh, and I think he's going to put his hand up to get into that cornerback position for Kilkenny. I would make one change for Kilkenny. I would put Derek Harkin back full back, like for like with nearly Hugh Lawler, and I would take Mikey Carey out of full back. But from a Kilkenny point of view, Kilkenny being Kilkenny, lads, I mean, it's just in their DNA to keep going to the end. I mean, how many times have we seen it where you just think they're being dominated in this match, they're out of the match, they're 6 or 7 points out of being behind, and they just keep going. They stay alive, and they had an opportunity near the end. I think it was Tom Phelan had an opportunity near the end.
Yeah, Melrick came out with it. Yeah,
Melrick came out of it. So, even from a Kilkenny point of view, Liam Moore really like the look of this guy. I think he's starting to put his hand up that, he's probably saying to Derek Ling, well, I can be a part of things come championship. Keane Kenny done well. Jordan Malloy went back, wing back, didn't do too bad. Done relatively well on Fitzgibbon. Richie Reid went to midfield. So they are trying things. There's talks that Billy Ryan could be back. You get Mullane back, you get TJ back. Great to see Tom Phelan back on the field. John Donnelly done exceptionally well when he came on. It's still going to be hard to beat, lads. They're still going to be extremely hard to beat in the Leinster Championship. And I think, come Leinster Championship time, I think Derek Ling, he needs to get 19, 20 players. And albeit they're down Hugh Lawler, and Billy Ryan might be coming back, I think when they get everyone back, they might have a bad 19 or 20 players,
Pat, just a quick one on Kilkenny. Kind of unusual, I suppose, when you think of the team of the noughties and even going into the 2011, 2012, etc. Like, the goals all came from them being dominated in the air almost, or definitely two of them anyway, and the penalty chance as well. Would you be persistent with Mikey Carey at fullback? He was marking the best full forward in the country and probably the biggest handful. I'd imagine he would have learned a hell of a lot from that as well.
Yeah, I can see John's point of view as well. It hadn't something I thought of that. Derek Harkin, maybe going back there, but I've watching Derek Harkin for a while. He's never really played there. He's always been a half backline type of player. So, Mikey Carey probably hadn't played there much either. But I think myself, because now, as you said, he's gaining experience in games now, marking the likes of Brian Hayes, who I do agree is the best full forward in the country. He's just the most efficient hurler of all time. One pass, doesn't even catch it, back of the net. Ball comes in a few minutes later, or in the first half one stage. Good touch. He doesn't even bother taking off, even though he can. He just taps over the bar. He really is something else. And he took for Barry Walsh's goal at the end, or Alan Walsh's goal. Mikey Carey wraps the arms around him, and it looks like, okay, I just stop Brian Hayes and we'll be all right. And then Walsh times it and comes across perfectly. But I think they'll probably stay with him. Look, it's a tough one. I feel for Mikey Carey personally, in the sense that, look, every player just wants to play. They don't mind where they play, I suppose. But he was in all-star form and had his best year ever at wing-back last year, I thought. I thought he was exceptional at number 5 last year. So when a fella's playing so well in one position and you get moved, even though it's for the better of the team, it's probably not the ideal most thing for you. But I think they'll probably stick with him now. But look, they're changing around a lot as well. As John said there about, Richie going here, Malloy going there. Like, another funny one I thought in one sense is Paddy Deegan. Like, how many times have they moved Paddy Deegan over the years? Wing forward the other day. Paddy Deegan I'd say, has worn, lads, nearly every jersey from 3 to 12 at this stage.
Yeah, because he played 14 a couple of years ago.
Did he? Even 14, yeah.
He did, yeah. On the back of, I'm fairly sure he played 14 on the back of playing there with O'Loughlin's. He definitely played cornerback, centre-back, wing-back, midfield, wing forward. And I'm fairly sure he started a league game inside in the full forward. I think he did.
Well, that just, and one thing, and it's not a thing against Paddy or the management, it's a thing, what that kind of tells you is that they are short on what they believe is enough players to cover positions. I tell you one place they're not short, and if we were picking a team of the league so far for goalkeeping position, Tallis and Billy Nolan, the two of them are just pulling off saves and performances. Like Tallis' save from Gareth Fitzgibbon the other day, he connected with that ball so well and he bounced it off a wet ground. I don't know how he saved that.
They're not saved. They are not saved.
Simple as.
No. Yeah.
And I know we were talking about Galway and Waterford in a while. Billy Nolan pulled off.
Billy went across himself. Did you see that? Like, that was unbelievable.
A penalty save, and the one from Keenan Fahy as well, where he was just on his own 13 yards out. And, you know, the two of them, I like that. Maybe make you do a team in the league after, but I don't know how. You might have to do a thing where, you know, in the odds where they shoehorn a position, like Tallis might get number 2 and Billy might get number 1. Because it'd be very hard to separate the two of them at the moment.
Yeah, big time. We'll just take a quick break, lads. Anyone, any of our viewers, you might get your comments and emails into Indo GAA podcast at independent.ie. And as usual, our podcast coverage, GAA podcast coverage, is sponsored by AIB. Well, we've mentioned Billy Nolan there, so we might as well talk about Waterford and Waterford Galway. Well, this is one of them kind of head-scratching ones from a Waterford point of view. A performance, unfortunately, like you've thrown one of these in at the start of the league maybe as well. But when so much was on the line against Galway, you know, win or even get a draw and you're safe, it's a bit kind of mystifying that they didn't really show up and deliver any type of a performance in Salt Hill the other day.
Yeah. And look, I was listening to Michael Ryan and Kieran O'Connor, the local radio commentary while I was up in Nolan Park, and you know, they said, you know, going off of that commentary, it was thoroughly disappointing. You know, speaking to anyone who was up at the match, a lot of supporters that went up were, you know, very annoyed with the performance. A lot of them saying you can just, you know, draw a line across it, and said it was very poor. And look, that's disappointing, you know, because, you know, coming off the back of, you know, 2 good wins, a great win against Limerick, you know, probably a little bit below par against Offaly, and a great performance against Kilkenny. But yeah, look, they've just got to dust themselves down now. This Sunday is a massive game for both Waterford and Tipperary. It's nearly backlash versus backlash. I mean, your Tipperary are going to come down. I'm sure they're going to have the bit between their teeth. I'd say there's going to be a backlash after that Limerick performance, and I would imagine that Waterford will come out with the bit between their teeth as well. So it's a huge game, and I would imagine that there'll be a big following there for both Tipperary and Waterford. And the prize is massive, Michael, because I only found out during the week that, you know, staying in Division 1, it's worth an enormous amount of money. Like, from revenue wise, it's huge for the counties that are up in Division 1A. And, you know, there was figures thrown about during the week that it's worth anything up to between 200 and 250,000 euros for a county board.
That's taken into account TV coverage, attendances, and a few more bits and pieces, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, so that is massive money. So, I mean, from a county board point of view, and even from the Waterford supporters' point of view, even from the Waterford team's point of view, I think it's you know, Division 1A is where you want to be, and even from a development point of view as well. You know, Waterford are going to have some exceptional players coming through in the next couple of years, you know, off that minor team. They tell me next year's minor team are going to be even better again. So Division 1A is where you want to be, and it's where you learn most about players going into a championship. So you know, hence why this game is a big game the weekend.
Yeah, Pat, we'll talk about Galway in a minute, but just looking at a lot of Waterford's play. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of backward stuff, a lot of sideways stuff. They weren't getting the ball inside, maybe like we would have seen maybe more in their earlier games, and they just looked off. And even I just remember seeing Mikey Kiley standing, getting blocked down. I remember Caleb Lyons was kind of half standing to strike, and the ball was taken off and should have ended up in the net. I don't know. It's just one of them performances where it's hard to kind of put your finger on it, but they just weren't at it at all. And in fairness to Galway were.
Yeah, when you go up to Salthill as well, if it's like I said this to you before, that to me the two toughest places to go ever nearly were Salthill and Wexford. You know, in terms of the elements in the league are always nearly it's against you. And Waterford had the win the other day. When you go in a place like Salthill, when you go in down, maybe what were they down 5 or 6 points against the wind, or sorry, with the wind, and then you're playing against it in the second half, it's just so demoralised. Look, it's not good enough from their own point of view. They wouldn't be happy with how they played, but not that they've credit in the bank, I suppose. It was such a kick in the teeth against Kilkenny. If they'd even got a draw against Kilkenny, they'd be in a much happier position. But look, at the same time, what is a lot of these things doing? Only kind of trying to get you ready for what will come in Championship. You know, they're not going to win. No team. It's only ever happened once in the round robin in Munster that a team has won all 4 games. So you're nearly almost guaranteed in the round robin to have to deal with a loss, to have to deal with a downer, and you know, no better way, as John said, because Tip are coming to Waterford in the Championship. So in one way, it's actually a perfect dress rehearsal in terms of that. You know, what happens if we do lose the first round to Clare above in a bad day in the first round? How will we turn around and, you know, pick ourselves back up against Tip in Championship? And, you know, management will be putting that to players this week and saying, lads, who can show me now this week that who can stand up against Tip and pull us out of the fire here now? And if you can do that, then you'll probably earn your ticket for a Championship start. Is this Waterford's last game, John?
Last game, yeah.
Is what you call, this is, you know, because that team, you could not pick the Waterford team right now. You could probably pick 10 players, maybe definitely not 15 anyway. Maybe 8 or 9 players, maybe 11 players, but there is a lot of spots up for grab. And I personally think, I think there will be a big backlash from Waterford this week. I think I'm going to throw my hat in there now and say Waterford will win this game the weekend. So
do I. And believe it or not, I'm actually really, really looking forward to this match the weekend. And like they're a funny group. We've seen it time and time again, Michael and Pat. When you least expect this team to do something, that's where they come and perform. And look, when you've probably built up in the past, you know, there is a tendency maybe to have a dip in a game, and hopefully last Sunday's game was the dip game. But I can only imagine what way they're going to be in training this week, and geez, I can only imagine what way Liam Cahill and Tipperary are going to be in training this week. So this has, if you like, you've said last week, Fernie, that you like spice, I think there's going to be plenty of spice in Welsh Park come 3:15 Sunday.
I don't like me spice on a pizza or anything like that, or in a curry, but I like it on a hurling pitch. I tell you that. Pat, you're after annoying me there now, because the minute you said it, I was just all these different things racing through my head. You said only one team have won their 4 Munster round robin games. Yeah. I have it in my head who it was and when it was. Mull, have you any idea who it was?
I would say Clare.
I have Tip 2019.
I think it's Tip 2019, yeah.
Yeah, and then they got hammered in the Munster final after. He only went through on 4 points that year, did he, to a Munster final, I think?
Yeah, funny enough, in 2018, we got 5 points and finished third. And 2019, we got 4 points and finished in the Munster final place, finished second.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was Clare done us a favour in 19, and they bet Cork in the last round, which was kind of unexpected because they were gone.
That's right.
And yeah, so when we lost to Cork Tip that day, we presumed our Munster final spot was gone, even though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In 19, but we were just told out on the field what the Munster final was, and it was Tip versus Limerick. And a negative turned to a positive immediately. We knew we were getting a rematch in 2 weeks' time. So yeah, I think that's the only one anyway. I don't think Clare did do it. No. Clare have a great record over the years. I know they didn't get out last year, but Clare. There was a thing floating around last year before the Championship that just the round robin in terms of league phases, Clare had actually been finished on more. Clare had more points amassed before last year than Limerick.
I think you're right. Yeah. So that's right. And Waterford down the bottom. Waterford have only won. Am I right in saying they've only won 2 and drawn 2? I think from all the round robin games. I think
they won the first 2 rounds. They won the first round last year and the year before, anyway, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Last year and Cork
they had a draw against Tip in 18 and a draw against Tip in 24.
No, they beat Tip under Cahill
the last game.
Yeah.
They beat Tip under Davy as well in the last game. when Cattle was tip manager, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, but they're definitely down the bottom of the table anyway. Now, that's the last of many segues today, lads. Galway Mull. This is tipping away all right now. This is like, they were, we probably focus on them a lot after the first game, a lot after the second game against Cork. And all these new faces are still there, and they're still flourishing fairly well. Like even Rabbit's body positioning, lads, for Ronan Glennon's goal under the high ball was brilliant the other night. Aaron Island seems to have settled into it a bit more. Killian Trayer's obviously a full back, very, very good. Like Keane Daniels, a lot of new faces in here, and a lot of lads staking their claim. There's a hell of a lot of these boys going to be starting in Championship.
Absolutely. And here's the one. All right. Now, before Galway supporters jump down my neck, all right, I'm going to ask you the question here and now. Will both Pádraig Mannion and Dottie Burke, 33, 34 years of age, be in the same backline come the summer?
It's a tricky one. Would you have them in the same line? It's like Dottie's playing out centre back and Pádraig's playing wing back. I don't know if you can have them in the same line of defence if they were separated out, but it doesn't look like Dottie Burke's going to play full back. So,
well, I'm looking at some of these young lads, Joshua Ryan, Killian Trayers, Kieran Hanrahan. These guys are putting their hands up. They're fast, they're sticky, they're touch tight. I don't know. I love what Micheál is doing, but I think he's going to have a little tricky one now where he's going to have to maybe sit down with Dottie and Pádraig and say, right, bit with maybe like Tom Morrissey and Garrod Hegarty, where they might have to share the load. They might have to share the load and say, right, if one of you starts, one of you will come on. But if it was me, I don't think there's a place for the two of them in the one backline. If Galway are going to be serious to push on and win a Leinster Championship, and
are you kind of talking about not just 2026? Are you talking with a view to the next couple of years as well?
Look, these are two iconic players, two generational players for Galway. But people probably jump down and say absolutely not. Two of them have to be both starting. If it was me, and I was me, I don't know, I would be sitting down and having a conversation, a bit like Noel McGrath, and saying, right, you might start one game, you might start the other game, and we might share the load. And as another chap said to me, Galway follower said to me, he said, what about putting Dottie Burke up centre forward or full forward or something like that? Mixing them in with some of the younger lads, like. But I don't know if there's a place for both Dottie Burke and Pádraig Mannion in the one backline come the Championship. If Galway are going to be serious contenders for the Leinster Championship and serious contenders to go on and maybe push on in the All-Ireland Series, I really like what Micheál is doing, but I think he might have to sit down with those two players and maybe say, work something out in regards working the load like come match day.
Floor is yours, Pat.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. In fairness, they have a lot of legs around them in terms of Keenan Fahy midfield with maybe Tom Monaghan or Daniels and some of these lads being forward. What's the Loughrea centre forward again? His name is coming away from me. Killeen. I talked to Kieran Killeen the other day enough when I seen that kind of half forward line role of getting up and down the field suits him a lot. And the likes of Joshua Ryan, these fellas, Morrissey in the backline, they have pace around these fellas. So I wouldn't rule it out in terms of, but I can understand. John made a great point when it comes to Noel McGrath last year. If a player like Noel McGrath isn't, it doesn't have an ego and can contribute after all he's done, well, I don't think, and if you use that example, no player then can do. If that's what Micheál Donoghue decides, no player in Ireland isn't too big for that, if you know what I mean. If Noel McGrath, one of the greatest players we've seen of all time, as far as I've ever seen in hurling anyway, if he can accept that role, and just give to the team and be selfless and have no ego, there's no reason why they couldn't either. It's a very interesting one. Pádraig Mannion is hurling well now, so I'd say if there's two of them at the moment, he's probably in pole position. And you know what, John? If it is a thing that Dottie Burke doesn't start the first round, maybe that's a good thing for the young hurlers in Galway. Not saying he won't get back in because it's a long championship, but maybe it just shows. Maybe it's something Michael Donoghue does, and saying like, I'm going picking on form. I'm picking for this year. Forget about the last 10 years or whatever. if some of these lads play well in these league games, I'm picking them and that's it. So it could be, do you know what? It could really set the tone for Galway. I have no idea. John is after, John could be a kind of thing now. If Galway win Leinster or not Ireland, they'll be clipping John. This is the new crack now. Like they clip people now. Like Tipperary had everyone clipped last year.
No. I'm just throwing it out there. Now look, the two of them could end up starting, and the two of them could end up playing a huge part in Galway getting over the line. But I just feel at the age of 33 and 34, that's 1/3 of your defence. 1/3 of your defence, and the way lads are pinging the ball around now, it's a possession-based game. I don't know if there's a place for the two of them in the one defence this year. I think there's a place for one of them, and I think maybe they might share the load in regards. One of them might start and one of them might finish, and they might rotate it as the games go on. And we seen last year, Noel McGrath started up in Ennis, and then he was back on the bench, and you just touched on it there, Pat. He didn't. There was no ego with him. Just got on with it. And I just think it's something me all might have to sit down with the two lads, because some of these young lads that they have, they're really, really exciting talent. And I think he's building something nice here as me all done,
And John, in fairness, what I do think, John, where I do agree with you is, and I don't know if you have the same theory, but lads, I think personally, it's definitely harder if you're an aging player, if you get over that 33 maybe mark, to be a defender than it is to be an attacker. Obviously, because, in terms of the principles of the game, an attacker decides his own movement. And a back has to follow a man. So, in fairness to you, make a good point that the two of them are defenders. If one of them was a midfielder and another one was a half forward, it might be a bit different, because you're not marking the man in them positions most of the time. So, yeah, we'll see how it plays out now. It's very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see the team for the first round of the championship, to see does this come to pass.
Yeah, and they're going to have, if they want to be in Leinster final, they're going to have 6 games in Leinster. Do you know what I mean? So there will be plenty of rotation. There will be plenty of injuries in there as well. But I remember just chatting Cyril before the year started. I just got the vibe that they all knew that there was a chance there, and it was a proper chance. It wasn't a lad's injured and come back in 6 weeks. It was, this is your chance to shine, and there's a load of lads just getting the chance to shine. And in fairness, like Kieran Hanratton, that was really kind of his first proper game the other day after Loughrea's club campaign, and he took it, and plenty of other lads have taken it in the last while as well. So
and it might be the same up the forward line with Conor Whelan and Conor Coney. Like I can't see the two of them starting together in the forward line. So again, it might be a case where me Hall might have to go with the two Conors and say, right, one of you starting, and we're going to hold one of you back. And I think that will be. I think Galway will be better placed to push on in the Leinster Championship if that plays out, where he plays either Pádraig Mannion or Dai Burke and rotates him, and they share the load. And likewise, up in the forward line, one of either Conor Whelan or Conor Coney, and they share the load. And then throw in all this young, exciting talent.
Yeah, it's an easier sell as well when you're winning games and there's young lads really putting their hands up. And in fairness, there's a heap of them have put their hands up even in defeat in earlier league games. So, lads, we just put a bow on Division 1A. Pat, I said it to you before the game was played at the weekend. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but even when Limerick played likes of Offaly, Westmeath, Laois, even down through the years, you think when you see the team selection, it should be maybe 20 points plus, and it has rarely worked out like that. And it didn't work out like that at the weekend. It ended up an 8-point win for Limerick. What is there a reason for that?
I tell you, if there is, I don't know it anyway. Now, look, you don't want to be sounding big head just because you're predicted to win these games. Like a lot of Limerick supporters the weekend now, not a small sense of disappointment is in like, geez, I thought we should be winning by more. I thought we were going better than what we are. And it's kind of the thing that, look, after being such a high-blown turnover the All-Ireland champions like that and the statement win, is it just very hard then to get yourself up for another game that, Offaly were as good as relegated before the other day, and it was a tough one. But look, to be honest, then, look, I'm kind of being a bit soft on them then. If I actually change my tune now, it should have been better, because fellas came into the team that weren't in the team the week before. you know, and they should have done better. You know, fellas, you know, they'd be disappointed with how they played that hadn't been starting games, and they didn't put up their hand now the other day. So they'll go back to the bench now against Cork on Saturday probably, and you can't have any complaints when if you don't come in and stake your claim as good as the last fella that did it. So what can you do? You kind of have to sit and wait for another chance. And I think that's what happened the other day. I think a lot of them lads that maybe haven't started a good few games would be very disappointed the other day, because the guys who did the bulk of the scoring were the guys who have been starting all the games, like Aidan O'Connor, the Bull O'Brien, Adam English. You know, these were the guys that actually done the scoring the other day, not the guys who had been coming back in that we maybe expected, and I expected them to put a bit of a statement. But no, we don't hammer the likes of Offaly and these teams. I don't know what it is. Maybe you're just better than you're giving credit.
Because I compare it to Cork. Like if Cork can beat Offaly by 15 points, they'll beat them by 25 for whatever, and that's just been the way. I remember.
It's not for the lack of trying through Limerick, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
They'd be so driven, and they'd be so goal orientated that, you know, people would think now that they'll come away happy that they were 8-point win. You know, I don't know whatever metrics they would have set for the game, but whatever they didn't hit them, I can bet the other day, and they wouldn't be happy with that. They wouldn't be happy with that one bit.
What you make of the jersey? Won't be a fan of it now.
It's a big thing. I have young nephews around maybe the age between 10 and 14, and they love that kind of stuff. They ask for it straight away from parents. They look for it and they beg for it straight away. I noticed that over the years. They love them kind of stuff. But yourself and John are pushing on a bit. John didn't like the Waterford jersey, and you didn't like the Limerick jersey. No, you're real tradition.
No. I didn't say I didn't like it. I thought the jersey was fabulous. I just thought the timing of it, wearing it against Kilkenny in a Waterford Kilkenny fixture, I would have worn it another day out. You know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting enough. You know, Limerick tried out a few things the weekend, Pat. Like Kyle went to number 6. Adam English went in the Peter Casey role. Am I right?
Can I just say something? It's not mad when a role is like Peter. That will be. It's like the brick flick.
Yeah, the Makaleli role.
Peter Casey has a position named after him, like.
Yeah.
The Makaleli role. Yeah. The old sit midfielder. Yeah. It's gas, isn't it?
Well, and Darragh Donovan, Pat, is he going to be out for long? Is he?
You don't know now. I haven't really speaking to him. Just going off what John said after the game, that is an AC joint. Looks like an AC joint issue, but look, they can be. It mightn't be as bad as feared. They won't know for another week or two. He'll probably miss the next 2 league games anyway. But hopefully sometime after that. Now, if he gets bad news, he could be out for a lot longer. But it's such a pity. We were only kind of going through last week how important he is to the team. So it's disappointing for a fella like that then who got an injury this time last year as well and disrupted him for the whole championship. It looked like he was back into the team this year. So touch wood for Limerick people that it's not too serious, because we need him, John. We need that delivery of ball, that player that can deliver a ball 80, 90 yards, you know, with accuracy. We're crying out for that in around that middle third. So I'm just hoping he's back for championship.
It's very unfortunate, because of all the teams, Kylie has a history of not playing lads when they get back. As in, they might be back, but they have to be back. They have to be back to where they were. Like I would have thought in 24 that Darragh would have been coming back from injury. He was on panels and whatever. But it's just, I think you have to be fully road tested. Like in the last couple of weeks, I think it's something that they don't want to ever get caught out in a game by starting a fella or bringing a fella in that doesn't have every box ticked. That's what it looks like from the outside anyway. Would that be fair to say, Pat?
It would. And do you know what? And in fairness, Mick, you could, not that they wouldn't do it anyway, but when your panel is strong, I think it's a small luxury you get from having a very good, just say if you have a very good 20 players. Now, I know there's been very good players over the years that they're in the top 3 or 4 players, like if Keane Lynch was injured at different times and wasn't rushed back. But, you know, if you can do that when you have the luxury of doing it. Another team mightn't have the luxury of doing it, you know. But like, look at Cork the other day, like as John said, they went up with probably guaranteed 5 starters missing. And they didn't, you know, they weren't under pressure going up because they feel, and I think Cork will probably win the league. And I've said this for a couple of years, the team that wins the league, the county that wins the league, as best I put it, has the best panel. Has the best 30, we'll say 31, 32. The championship is a bit different. It cuts down to 20. You use kind of 20 players in championship. So there is a correlation between the two, obviously, but the best panel wins the league, in my opinion. Now, you need a great panel to win the All-Ireland, obviously, but there's going to be 18 to 19, 20 players do your heavy lifting in the championship compared to in the league the other day, like Cork used lads the other day now, and some of them won't see championship.
Yeah.
You know, and even though they've done well, and Galway have used lads, not all these fellas will see championship. You know, you kind of have 18 to 20 players that will see championship. Barring you get a good few injuries. So, yeah, that's it.
We'll just fly through 1B, lads. The big result for me across the weekend was Kildare had to go about their business professionally, and they did. Very good win against Down. It finished 324 to 123. Qualter was back, had been injured. He ended up with 14 points. Cottle Down and got a hat-trick of goals.
They're willing to score goals, Mick. They're a goal-scoring team.
Oh, big time.
They're a real goal-scoring team, and they seem to get they seem to get good goals as well. They just seem to get these cracking goals.
They don't score the old ordinary dribblers. Sure they don't, no.
No. I tell you, they're coming into the Leinster Championship with confidence.
And there's openings for them in Leinster. Like let's call a spade. There's openings for them in Leinster that there just wouldn't be in Munster. If they continue to rise like they are, like Offaly be looking over their shoulders, Wexford be looking over their shoulders. Dublin seem to have their measure, but there's definitely cause for concern from a couple of counties in Leinster by Kildare's rise.
It's not going to be a straightforward that they're just going to go straight back down to Joe McDonough. I think we're all in agreement to that. I mean, they're on the upward trajectory, and they're going to be extremely difficult to beat for an Offaly or a Wexford. You'll be thinking Kilkenny and Galway and Dublin will look after them, but Wexford and Offaly, Bogo and Ace, they're going to have to perform. They're going to really have to perform if they're going.
You said that last week, Mull. Newbridge,
sorry, Newbridge are nowhere. Sorry, yes.
No, there's plenty of nice lads on the field in fairness.
And believe it or not, it's a fabulous venue. But I think that result all but secures their status for 2027. So that's
one massive box ticked, isn't it? Like already.
100% brilliant. And from an Antrim point of view and Down now, that's a huge game the weekend. Particularly for our Down are nearly effectively down. Are they have any chance of staying up?
They're struggling. They're gonna they're on 0 points at the minute,
Yeah, well, 0 points, and I think the scoring average is totally against them. So from an Antrim point of view, that's going to be a massive game the weekend. And Down are not going to roll over. I think they'll be encouraged by that performance against Kildare. So that won't be straightforward for Antrim either. And looking at Carlow then against Clare, I think they didn't start Mills Cavan at the weekend. Was that looking at maybe thinking that we're not going to beat Clare. We'll try and rest them up and try and have them right for the Kildare game this weekend, because again that's another fixture that Carlow are going to have to go after and try and win the weekend.
When you have a shallower squad, YJs, you have to box clever. I'm even thinking of, remember when Antrim went down to Kilkenny in the first round of Leinster in Darren Gleeson's last year, and they took an unmerciful hiding.
I think like 7 goals, did it?
Yeah, it was a woeful beating. I'm thinking something like 5-30 to 12 points. I could be miles off. Then the week later to beat Wexford in the championship up in Corrigan, you have to. And Offaly are the same. And that's why I was surprised at Offaly's approach last year. In fairness to them, they went to try and win every game, but they went down to Wexford to beat Wexford in the penultimate round last year, and it nearly caught them in the last week against Antrim when they were totally flat. So it's a tricky one. And Pat Bennett and whoever and these guys, you do have to rotate your players to a point and make sure that your key men are fit and raring for the biggest games. You know what I mean? It's a tricky one. Just quickly on the old AC joint, Mull, did you ever do that one? I did that one myself once. That is a sore dart.
No, I didn't know. But I broke my wrist. The biggest one I had now, I broke my wrist in 2006 playing a challenge match against Wexford. Got a dirty belt. And it was over 12 weeks. And it was the exact same as Darrow Donovan leading into the championship. I missed the first round of the Munster Championship against Tipperary, and I got back for the All Ireland series. But it's a tricky one, difficult. It's difficult. It's you're away from the squad and you're trying to keep your fitness up. But the most difficult thing is that you're not getting the hurling you should be getting leading into leading into the championship. Just going back on Clare, lads. Will Clare, they play Wexford the weekend? I'm thinking, do they go strong the weekend against Wexford? Well, they're in the league final, but now it's a case probably, who do they want to play in the league final? Do they want to play Wexford or do they want to play Dublin? It's just people are throwing out to me, will Clare go strong the weekend? I'm thinking they will go strong the weekend. I think they have to go strong. I think they have to go strong and try and get as much out of that Wexford game, and try and get as much out of the league final. So I'm thinking they will go strong against Wexford the weekend.
I'd be the same as you. Like, with due respect to some of the teams they've played, there's been, big wins for them. The games where they've really learned, or really will learn, will probably be the Dublin game the first day. They obviously learned a fair bit against Kildare as well. I think they'd be going strong against Wexford, and then I think they'd be obviously going very, very strong, or as strong as they have for the league final, because they're not going to be as better road tested as the Division 1 sides. Like, all the Munster teams that they're playing are all in Division 1A, where it's cutthroat and they're coming up against the cream of the crop. What do you reckon, Pat?
Yeah, it's like, I know you're into the Cheltenham, Mick, you know what I mean? We've Clare and Waterford in the first round, so will all these games stand to Waterford? You know what I mean? All these top teams they're after playing, and will it stand to them in the first round? Will Clare obviously in the league final, which is a good thing, but it's a tough one. Brian Lohan always goes strong, lads. He went fairly strong even against Carlow the last time. He doesn't seem to hand out an awful lot of opportunities to maybe younger players that are further down the pecking order. So I think he will go strong. But
you have to earn it by the looks of things, don't you?
Yeah. Fair enough. That's his style.
Yeah.
That's his style, and maybe his style as well is he wants players in conference. He wants forwards scoring. He wants them. The most dangerous forward you'll ever meet is a forward in conference, in form. So they're probably hoping for that as well. But at the same, like, what an opportunity for Wexford, to go down here and just get a result. Would a draw even be enough to kind of see them up that they win their last game?
Yeah, just a draw be enough, yeah.
Yeah.
And they've a good record against Clare.
Yeah, they wouldn't fear Clare at all.
Yeah.
They went down and beat Clare in Ennis last year when it was Chin's first match back. I think he'd been away in Australia and nobody expected him to win.
No, big shock that was.
The big one coming out of Congress. I think some of these boys from Congress must be listening into the pod. Quarterfinals, the beaten Leinster and Munster finalists get a home quarter-final, which I think is brilliant. We're still going to have the Joe McDonough winners and runners-up. That's still going to be in for this year, is it, 2026?
You know what that means, John? Now the Masters will be in for the All-Ireland final. Get the Waterford boys ready. Get fit. Get the Essex out.
But hey, lads, I think, I think we need to do something in regards to quarter-finals and semi-finals, because there's such an anti-climax after the Munster Championship. I believe that there's an anti-climax nearly with the quarter-finals and preliminary quarter-finals the last couple of years. And I tell you, don't rule out the one that I was proposing last year, where the top four and the top two in Munster get home advantage against third and fourth in Leinster, and the top two in the Leinster Championship get home advantage against third and fourth in Munster. And then we have a bumper quarter-final weekend where we have home and away games,
I don't like the four coming through, I'll be straight with you. I think Munster won't be the same as the four coming through.
Back to this. There's not enough jeopardy. There'll still be jeopardy. One team will go, two will go from Leinster. So Jesus, how much jeopardy is there in the All-Ireland Football Championship this year? How much jeopardy is there in the World Cup? How much jeopardy is there in the Champions League?
Not enough.
What we want is we want the four best teams in the All-Ireland semi-finals. And if that means there's four teams from Munster in the All-Ireland semi-finals, so be it.
You're going to have to do an open draw if that's what you want, Mull. Or you're going to have to do a crisscross job or something like that. Because I just think you'd be ruining Munster. But listen, that's a debate for another day. The descent rule is also in, going to come in as well. Some lads are going to struggle to deal with that. I can think of certain fellas that are going to struggle to deal with the ball.
Is it from the line? So it can be from if the management can be found guilty of this. If the management is warned a referee, can a referee give it? Was that it in the football?
Yeah, that's it in the football. Yeah. Remember,
whether it is players or management are given gruff to the ref, he can put this free.
30 metres.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a great rule, to be honest. I think whatever about inter-county at the top level, if you go to some underage games in counties, there's a big issue with it. In terms of dissent to ref, it's like fellas don't know what. Fellas can't think of anything else to say, so they just decide to roar to ref even when he hasn't done anything wrong. It really does annoy me. I don't notice it at the top level in senior clubs and inter-county, but you go to underage games as it's poor. That's just my own opinion. So I think it's long overdue.
Yeah, 100%.
Jeez, we used to get on to Stevie Brenner on the go. Stevie was nearly the worst for us now. Even Dennis Allen, we used to be all the time. Stevie, will you ever just shut up now? Don't get on to Bucky O'Brien or Mickey Wadden. And next thing, geez, to be a ball gone over. For fuck's sake, Mickey, or fuck's sake, Bucky. And I think Bucky was telling me one thing. It was funny. He said, Eddie Barrett said to Bucky, he said, you're going to get the blame for that, Bucky. Next thing by Stevie, say, Bucky, what the fuck's that all about? So I don't know what it is for. Does that still apply for goalkeepers as well, lads?
Yeah, Jesus Christ above, yeah. There's a lot of
jeez. We used to be blue in the faces. Brenner, please, don't get on to the referee now today. Don't get on to the referee today. The fucking ball will be only in 5 minutes. Fuck's sake, Jesus.
Certain lads just cannot help themselves. Sure they can't.
Stop.
Yeah. Boys, I won't see you for a couple of weeks because I'm in Cheltenham next week and I'm resting and recovering the week after, but no doubt you'll keep the show on the road and we'll bring the three podfathers back together again soon, all right?
Enjoy me. Best of luck.